Focus on me. Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Jazz. I got a new setup. This is my new backdrop. Let me know if you like it. I actually moved. I am now living in Indiana. I know, it's crazy. It's so crazy. But this is my first video in my new setup, in my new studio room. So I actually have a lot more space here. I'm hoping that this goes well. I hope it's not too loud because I feel like I can hear all the cars driving by, so sorry. I'm sorry. There's just not much I can do about that. Anyways, today I thought I have this giant zit on my face, so why not make a video on how to cover up your acne spots. Yay! I'm going all out. I just got out of the shower. That's why my hair looks like a mess. It will probably look like that this whole video, so very sorry about that. I washed my face. I talked about this in my favorites video for 2017. It's the Trader Joe's face wash with tea tree oil. I love this stuff, especially if you're breakout prone. Tea tree oil is really good at like soaking up extra oils and just making your pores really clean. So I already washed my face with that. And I'm going to use this mask. I've never used one of these before, but I think it's really cute, so I wanted to do it on camera. It's a moisturizing mask that is shaped like a little tiger face. It actually might look really scary, but we'll see. I'm sure we all know, like, the great pillars to having nice skin are hydration. Hydration, hydration, hydration. So that's why I'm gonna put this hydrating mask on, just because I actually have the time today. But then after that, I will show you how I actually like cover up pimples and breakouts and stuff with makeup just to get you going through the day. Yeah, it's a little scary. I was right. I feel like I look like the lion on Wizard of Oz that's like scared and needs courage. I'm like, woof, woof. This is by Look Beauty. They have a whole line of these. There's a lot of different animals. I actually have another one that's like a panda, but this one is moisturizing. It contains soybean extract, mushroom extract, and witch hazel water. So this says to keep this on for 10 to 20 minutes, but I do just want to say a few things while I'm here. This is so ridiculous. So acne is totally normal. Everybody has breakouts. Even supermodels have breakouts. It happens. Pores are little holes in your skin that everybody has, and sometimes they get clogged with stuff, and that just happens. It's like going on my lip and making me talk funny. It's nothing to be ashamed of. I know it's like a source of shame and grief for most people, and I spent most of my childhood with really bad acne, so I feel like I'm kind of over it now. Like, I lived through all the taunting and all the bullying, and you know, I kind of got used to my face being a hot mess all the time, and now I feel like I have tried so many different ways of trying to cover up acne that I know some tricks, so I'm going to show you what I know. And also, a lot of it starts with not makeup. A lot of it starts under the surface. I mean, that's why you get breakouts in the first place. So keeping your skin healthy, keeping your body healthy really helps. I want to say, I don't know if you guys can even take me seriously with this mess. That's okay. Your skin is the biggest organ in your body. I know that it's weird and hard to think of it as an organ, because I think of an organ as like your liver. So rude. Like, I think about that when I'm drinking. I'm always like, oh, I need to replenish my liver with water so it can do its job and fix my body. But you don't think of your skin that way. It's like a huge organ. It's the whole outside of your body, and it needs water to do all of its daily tasks too. I'm gonna sneeze. Yeah, just drink more water. Okay, so I've babbled enough with this tiger mask on. I'm gonna wait out the next however many minutes I have to wait, and I will be right back. All right, I'm back. I took that sheet mask off and I just like massaged whatever was left into my skin. You definitely want to do that when you take sheet masks off, because That's all the good stuff, so you want it to soak into your skin. Before I put any makeup on, I like to treat them a little bit just so there's something working underneath the makeup all day. I have this stuff called Grease Lightning. It's by Lush and it's pretty awesome. It's like a toner, but it's got tea tree oil and aloe gel. I used to put this all over my skin, but I think it's a little too drying for that. It definitely is drying, and I don't have very oily skin. So I'm just gonna dab this on the spots that are actually bothering me. So I just have a little bit on my hand, and I'm just lightly tapping this around the actual blemishes that I have. I think I have sufficiently covered all of my problem areas. Okay, so that is a little bit tacky. I'm gonna let that dry down, and then I'm going to moisturize my face. Because again, hydration is key. I just realized I have 2 waters here because I'm just a person that has water everywhere apparently. Especially after you use something like this with tea tree oil, it's pretty drying. If you use any kind of treatment on your actual blemishes, you definitely want to use a moisturizer. I always moisturize before I put makeup on anyway. My favorite moisturizer is by Fashion 220. It's an older makeup and skincare brand, a lot like Avon, that my grandma has sold for like, I don't know, 40 years or something. I did talk about this in my video where I did my grandma's makeup. It's the collagen cream that she uses. She has such nice skin, and I think she owes it to this cream. So this is my favorite. Another one I have that is easier to find and a lot more affordable that I like, I got at Aldi, the grocery store. I love Aldi, by the way. Great finds there. The brand is Lacura. I don't really know how you say that. I think it says $3. This is the day cream. It's their anti-wrinkle day cream. And it's awesome. And then they have a night cream too that has like retin-A in it. Really helps with wrinkles. So I'm just gonna massage this into my whole face. That is pretty much all I do for prepping if I'm gonna put makeup on. Or even if I don't, like, I still do this every morning whether I put makeup on or not. On days when you're having bad breakouts, like, if you can go without wearing makeup, I would do that. But if you do have to wear makeup, if you have someplace you have to be and you want to wear makeup, try to take it off as soon as you get home, just so your face has more time to breathe. And do all of this anytime you wash your face, like do all the treatments and stuff and like let it sit and let it breathe. So that's another tip. I'm not even going to use a primer because I feel like the moisturizer is enough, and I don't really have like a primer that would actually do anything for helping my breakouts, if that makes sense. So if you have a lot of oil on your face and you have like an anti-shine or like an oil absorbing primer, go ahead and use that. Like I said, do not have excess oil. If anything, I'm more on the dry side, so I'm not even gonna worry with that right now. So what I like to do is start with some concealer under my foundation. I typically have concealer that's a little bit lighter than my complexion, so I'm going to use that underneath my foundation so it doesn't show up as much. It just has that extra coverage where I need it. I'm going to use the Wet n Wild Photo Focus Concealer. This is my favorite concealer. This is in color Light Ivory. I think it's the lightest shade. And I'm actually going to leave this one alone because you'll see when I get there. But these ones that are like on my cheek, maybe on my chin a little bit, I'm gonna spot conceal those and I'm gonna show you what I do. Hi, now we're really zoomed in. So I'm taking my concealer on its little wand. I'm gonna focus on everything except this big guy. So over here, you can see I have a couple little ones. I'm just gonna dot this right over the actual blemish. I'm not gonna go over the whole area. I'm just gonna go where there's an actual blemish. Okay, then I'm gonna take a really fluffy brush. This is just like a shader, like eyeshadow brush that's clean. And I'm going to like tap over this just to kind of smooth it out. I'm using the lightest hand ever and just tapping. And what I'm trying to do is diffuse it out so it's not just bunched up on there, but keep the coverage right where I need it. So I'm just gonna tap all those out very, very lightly. I'm like barely touching my skin right now. And then I'm gonna go back in. I'm gonna smooth out the edges of each little area that I just put down. So I'm not gonna touch the actual blemish, but just all the way around it, I'm gonna blend that outwards away from the blemish. And again, I'm barely touching my skin. You want it to be like a seamless transition from your skin to the blemish, so there's not like a big circle around it of where you put concealer, but you also don't want to take away any of the coverage that you put on the actual blemish. So that's pretty good. There's some coverage there now. I'm gonna do a couple other spots on my face. So again, with this clean brush, just tapping it in like a circular motion away from it, and then just slowly fading out the edges a little bit. Okay, so as you can see, that's a lot better. This spot right here on me is actually not a blemish. It's been there for years. One day it just popped up. I thought it was a pimple. I messed with it for a long time, and it's literally been here for like 4 years. I have no idea what it is or why it's there. Maybe one day I can afford a dermatologist. So that looks a lot better. And as you can see, like my chin is kind of red, and I have just like rosacea on my cheeks where the whole area is red in spots. And I didn't go over the whole area with this. I just went over specific spots. So if you overdo it, it just looks bad. So you really have to stop yourself from like caking your whole face in makeup thinking you're just covering it all up. You want it to look as natural as possible. So you want it to be very sheer layers of things that you can slowly build up. Otherwise, it's just gonna look cakey, and it's almost more noticeable when you have this big dry cakey mask on that you have blemishes underneath that you're trying to cover. So now we will move on to foundation, and then I'll show you my new trick with this big guy. So I'm using the L'Oreal Infallible Pro Glow. It's this guy. This was also in my favorites video. This is not a super full coverage foundation. It's like medium coverage, but works really well. And I'm using, I think this is by Eco Tools, this sponge. And I'm just gonna put a sheer layer all over my face. And just pounce it on there. When you're working with acne and covering acne, you never want to do wiping motions. That's why I don't like brushes, because I'm always struggling with acne. It's much easier to do like a pressing motion, and then you won't move things around on your face. So I chose this foundation also because it has like a dewy finish to it. I think that the more dewy and glowy your face looks, the more healthy your skin looks. And when you're trying to cover up acne, that's really important, because that's gonna give the impression that your skin is more flawless than it is if it looks really healthy. Trying to trick people to think you have really nice skin. So just that alone has like really taken away the redness of all these little spots. And this is medium coverage, and it actually did like a decent job of hiding this big guy right here, but I'm gonna do a little more. This is a tip that I just picked up from Mariah Leonard, also here on YouTube, and she was doing, I'll link this video because it's really cool. She did a full face of beauty guru makeup techniques. So she was using a lot of new techniques from other people on YouTube. So she got this from Aina, I hope I'm saying that right. So I'll also link her down in the description box. But Mariah's video is really cool. You should definitely check that out. And I have been using this new concealer trick for a couple days now, and I really like it. It gives you a lot of coverage without having to use more product, which is what we're doing here with the whole acne cover-up thing, is to try and get a lot of coverage with not a lot of product build up. So using my same concealer, I'm just going to draw like a pretty big area just because I really want to cover this guy right here. So I'm gonna bring it down that far. So like that looks like a lot, and I don't normally put this much on, but it's still just one swipe of concealer. It's not like I'm putting on several layers, and that's what's gonna help you out here. So give it a big surface area, that's fine. It's gonna really cover up anything that's underneath it. So if you have really dark circles under your eyes, this is a really good trick too. So now what we do is we let it sit for a little bit. So I don't let it get completely dry because I still want to blend it out, but I let it sit a little so it gets almost like tacky before I start to blend it out. And that way it doesn't move as much and the coverage stays where I put it, if that makes sense. I'm not like wiping it all away right away and soaking it up into my beauty blender. I'm just kind of blending out the edges. So I'm also going to use this to prime my eyelids while I'm here and waiting. So they're a little less wet looking, especially on the outskirts where there's less product. So I'm going to just take that same damp beauty blender that I was using. I know it's not an actual beauty blender. I'm sorry, I keep saying that. Beauty sponge. And just very lightly tap it out. So you never want to swipe it across your face, especially with the damp beauty sponges. You never want to do that because it's just going to move everything that's underneath it. So I'm just very lightly tapping. Really focusing it on like the edges of where I put it. A lot like when we were blending out around the blemishes. I want this to be like a seamless transition too. This does such a good job of adding coverage. It's amazing. I would never think to like let it sit before I blend it out, but it does such a good job. Like, I don't know if you guys can tell, but this area is so bright now. That's why I didn't do this underneath my foundation, because I knew I was gonna do it on top and I didn't want to add another layer underneath. So I waited until now, and it really, I mean, like, you can still tell that there's a bump there, but the color is a lot lighter. It's not as red and angry looking as it was. So now we're gonna set it. So you want to set it with a powder, especially on your blemishes, with a powder that matches your skin. You don't want to get anything too dark or too light because it's going to stand out from the rest of your face. So I have this CoverGirl Professional Loose Powder. This is in color 105, which is translucent fair. These do have a little bit of color to them, and it's loose powder, so I'm just dumping it into the cap, which is really broken, but I'm gonna pick it up from there. And I'm gonna use a fluffy brush to do this. I'm actually just gonna use the same brush that I used the concealer on my spot treatment earlier. So I'm just gonna dip into this powder and like tap it off because I don't want a whole lot. And I'm gonna just very lightly tap it over the places where we concealed. Because this does have a little bit of color to it. It is going to add a little bit more coverage. But since it's so light and finely milled, it's not going to give you a whole lot more buildup. So I'm just using tapping motions again. I don't want to smear it around my face. I just want to tap it on, because I don't want anything to move. Using the powder like this to set individual spots, it's gonna lock it into place. So hopefully this makeup will stay a lot longer throughout the day. And at a certain point, like, you kind of have to stop yourself from just adding and adding and adding like I'm doing right now. Like, I could look at this thing all day and be like, oh my god, I can still see it, I can still see it. Like, yeah, it's a bump. Like, of course I'm gonna see it. So I'm just doing the best that I can. At a certain point, you just have to, like, put your brushes down and be like, all right, this is it. This is the best I can do. I have to walk away now. Because the more you mess with it, the more texture you're gonna get out of it. And that's what we're trying to avoid. Since we want our skin to be dewy and glowy and healthy looking, I'm going to use my favorite powder on top of everything. This is the Bye Bye Pores Illumination Powder by IT Cosmetics. And for this one, I'm gonna use just a big face brush. This is by Morphe, the E42. And again, I'm going to press it on, but I'm gonna do this all over my whole face just to give it a little bit of a glow back. Okay, so we're pretty much done with the base. This is it for the base. And then I'm just gonna show you how to add like blush and contour without messing up everything you just did. So I got this in an Ipsy bag and I really like it. It's by Color City, their little contour palette. It's got a bronze, contour, bronze, and highlight. And they're actually like perfect colors for my skin, I feel like. So I'm gonna use this big kabuki brush for bronzer and just tap a little bit on, and with a light hand, I'm literally just going to press this into my face. Because I have like some acne spots over here, I don't wanna rub it in because it's just gonna, again, lift, or at least it could lift some of the coverage that we've put there, and I really just want to keep it as flat as possible. And I am going to put some on my forehead. For contour, I'm using this little like tapered brush. This is also by Morphe, the E48. And again, I'm just tapping it. I'm gonna tap it where I want it. And if you do want to like buff this out, I like to do really, really tiny circles where I'm like literally tickling my face because I'm hardly touching it. Okay, I am gonna add some blush. Some days I don't put any blush on, but today where I feel like I put a lot of coverage on, I just kind of look like one-dimensional. I'm gonna add some blush just to put some color back in my face. This is the Milani powder blush in Tea Rose. And again, I'm gonna stipple this on. So stippling is like dotting. So just pressing it on. Last but not least, for the face is a highlight. This you have to be careful with because you do not want to highlight any textured areas. That is just going to raise awareness of your textured areas. So like, I definitely don't want to put a highlight on this big bad boy. And I'm going to try to avoid putting highlight where any of these little bumps are. You can wear highlight by all means. I would just be very selective of where that highlight is going. Okay, so I'm actually going to use this Super Shock Cheek by ColourPop. It's called Lunch Money. Because this is like a cream, and I'm gonna use my finger to pat it on exactly where I want it. So I'm gonna swirl my finger around in there. And then I'm just going to like very carefully place it just on the high points of my cheek, avoiding anywhere that has texture. So again, I'm just patting. I mean, I'm patting fast, but I'm not rubbing it in. And I'm gonna stop before I hit this blemish. And I'm just tapping it in and kind of buffing it out with my finger and keeping it pretty symmetrical. If you do like accidentally put highlight on a blemish spot, you can go back in with your colored powder and just tap it on there again just to mattify it. So I'm gonna put this on my nose too, just to add more shine to my face, and my nose doesn't have any blemishes I'm trying to hide, so. Also gonna put this on my Cupid's bow. And I'm gonna put a little bit above my eyebrow just to give it like a little lift. And just to add to that healthy glowing skin look that I'm going for. So obviously if you had any blemishes, like I do have some on my forehead, but not really over here above my eyebrow, I wouldn't put them over my blemishes. If you have some on your chin, don't highlight your chin. Like if it's right on areas where you want to highlight, you might just not want to highlight that day. Okay, so now that I added a little bit of glow to my face, now the focus is more on my glow and how healthy I look. I think actually adding blush really like added a lot to this look because it gives me more color, makes me look healthier and not so like whited out. I'm gonna go ahead and finish like my eye makeup off camera because that's not really gonna change. And then we'll wrap up this video. Alright guys, I finished my rest of my face off camera and I'm back to show you the finished product. I'm pretty sure you can't really tell that I have a giant breakout going on, especially this big guy. I mean, he's not ever gonna go fully away because he's raised from the skin. He's a boy, by the way, because only boys would do this to you. But I think I did the best job at just kind of blending everything in together, keeping the texture as low as possible, keeping the focus on the eyes, and just making your skin look as healthy as possible really helps to diminish the look of breakouts. I have found that this method works for me, so let me know what works for you, and if this video helped you at all, please give it a thumbs up, and please subscribe to my channel before you leave. I'll see you in my next video. Thanks! Bye. Stop filming.